Welcome to my Gratitude Leaf Project. Hi, I'm Hayley, Chief Doodler at Thoughts Drawn Out. I'm all about getting creativity working so I can help you to make your mark. It started with a question. How could I make gratitude feel more tangible and tactile? It's on my mind a lot at the moment as we move toward the end of the year and I spend more time in reflection. And I know that there are great benefits to spending time with your gratitude and understanding it and unpacking it. It improves your mental well-being. It lifts your mood. It reduces stress while also building resilience. It increases happiness, and really, time spent in gratitude is an act of self-love and self-care. And I wanted to invest in this for myself, and I wanted to spend some time in a space of gratitude. And so I headed out with my basket and collected a pile of leaves. Why, you may ask? Well, they were going to be the vehicles through which I could capture my thoughts of gratitude. And so I set about capturing one concept per leaf so that I could build a set of things that I was grateful for, and they would be real and I could touch them and see them, and I could have that tangible, real experience of my gratitude. So I started with a list, and then I sat down and began the drawing process. The first word that sprang to my mind was temperance. A word that has in it a bunch of other words. I love those words. Temperance is about balance and patience and moderation. And it's about bringing those three things together that temperance emerges. And it's something I feel that I've had to learn the hard way this year, but that I am very, very grateful for the time I have spent in this space. My next word was sisterhood. I'm eternally grateful for the relationship I have with my sister, and nothing compares to the relationship you have with your sister. But I'm also grateful for the wider sisterhood that I have, the amazing, powerful, considerate, interesting women that are in my life. And I'm really grateful for having those there that I can reach out to and that influence me in positive ways. Laughter. It needs no explanation, but when I think of the things in my day that I am grateful for, laughter is one of the first things that comes to mind. There is nothing like a belly laugh to remind you what joy and happiness feels like. Particularly the kind of laughter that comes with a shared moment of stupidity with my boy Hugo. We both share such a goofy sense of humor, and every now and then something just gets us and we will laugh till we cry. And honestly, I don't know if there is a better feeling on the planet than that. Petrichor. What a word. I love how it rolls off my tongue. Petrichor, if you have not heard of it, is the smell that accompanies the first rain, particularly after a long, hot, dry spell. Now you all know that smell I'm talking about, especially when you smell it before the rain starts to fall. That, for me, is a moment of pure joy. We've lived through drought in these last few years, and I know how hard that is to move through when it's this constant reminder in your life of the absence of something. And petrichor, that brings with it a promise. That is something coming, a positive coming. And I just associate that smell with a feeling of happiness and a feeling of relief. Digging deeper into some things that I am truly grateful for. A word that came to mind, and I think maybe it's a phrase, but dawn light. There is nothing quite like being up early in the morning, watching the light slowly emerge and watching it change the landscape before your very eyes. Watching the grass and the trees and the birds and the everything else around you slowly by slowly lighten and come to life and evolve through a color palette. It's just something you can't notice in a fraction. You can't notice it in 1 second. To really appreciate dawn light, you have to watch it change. So it requires some dedication. You have to sit and be present for more than a second to really understand the beauty of dawn light. Now, I think this one logically flows for me in terms of the order of how things happen in my morning, because the next thing that came to mind was contemplative coffee. Now, I've put those two words together because it's the moment that happens. It's not the coffee itself that I wanted to stress the gratitude for, because I feel like if I needed to, I could live without coffee. I've removed many other things from my life without feeling the loss. But the moments I spend quietly enjoying a coffee and the contemplative space that I allow myself to sit in while I have that morning beverage, that is critical to my happiness for the day. The reflection that I can have while sitting quietly consuming a morning coffee, they're moments of bliss. The next phrase that came to mind may seem a little bit quirky. It's intergenerational wisdom. Now, this has come through, I guess, some reflection on the fact that I really love the idea of preserving old ways, of remembering how to do things by hand and remembering how to make the most of what you have. And so much of this wisdom is handed down to us, and I appreciate it so very much that I have learnt it and that I can keep it alive. Asynchronous togetherness. I know it's a bit of a weird one, but I love in my house the fact that myself, my husband, and my son, we're all kind of lone wolves in a way. We like to do our own thing, but we also like to do our own thing together. It's really common for us to be hanging out at night, but we're each doing our own thing or have our own project going on. But at the same time, we really like the fact that we're all there. And it's just this nice appreciation of who we each are as people, and the space that we've created for ourselves to be ourselves in a way that works for us. And I am grateful for that. I really enjoy that is the way we have built our lives. Bruised clouds of an afternoon storm. Oh, the colours that come to mind in that statement. I said bruised on purpose because there is something about the blues and purples and sometimes greens that emerge in a storm cloud. That palette, it's just, I don't know. I want to eat it. It's just amazing. I could sit and watch the evolving colour palette of a storm cloud all afternoon. It's just, there's a power behind it. Even though some of those colours are really subtle and muted, but then there's these strong colors that will come through, and the connection between the power of the storm and the color of the clouds. And you could just get lost in that all day, couldn't you? I really appreciate those moments. Serendipity is my next word. I know it's a bit of a funny one. Serendipity is about happy coincidences. I love when these little moments emerge, little synchronicities that happen in life where you meet someone who knows someone that you already know. You think about a topic and then it emerges. When these little happy coincidences happen, they're just little sparks of joy. And I think sometimes these are things we rush too quickly through and we don't spend enough time appreciating them. So I wanted to add them to my list as something to spend a little bit longer with, that I appreciate moments of serendipity. Family. It's got to be on the list, doesn't it? Every day there is a moment where I just smile to myself, I want to pinch myself, and I just feel so deeply grateful and humble that I have the family that I have, that we have a special bond, we have a love and an appreciation for each other just as we are, that you just don't get anywhere else. A group of people who love you for you no matter what. It doesn't matter what ugly side of you comes out. That love is unconditional and it's forever. And there is just nothing quite like that. Birdsong. This one came onto my list for a very specific reason. You may or may not know that I chose the kingfisher as my spirit animal for the year, and just recently a pair of kingfishers have moved into my yard. Never lived here before. Now two of them nest in a tree outside my kitchen window, and when I hear them sing, I cannot help but smile. It may not be a pretty song, but they're my bird and they're right there, and I love it. The next thing that I am grateful for is my imagination. I think we take this for granted sometimes. The fact that we can think beyond the realms of what is presented to us, the fact that we can imagine something bigger, something better, something different, something that we've never seen, smelled, heard, tasted before, but we can think it into existence in our mind. That blows my mind. I love that I have the power to do that. How amazing. We can invent things inside our brain that have never existed before, just with a little imagination. Mountains. This one comes to mind for me specifically because of the drive I take to get home on days when I've had to travel to the city. There's a certain point on the road, I come up over the crest of a hill, a valley opens out in front of me where I live, and I have a full 180 view of the Great Dividing Range, and just the line that mountain, or that group of mountains create on the horizon. It's beautiful, but it's also a moment of, I'm home. Dirt roads. You may be asking what it is about a dirt road that there is to be grateful for. Yes, living on a dirt road means you are constantly fighting dust on your house, in your house, on your car. Everything is dusty always. But a dirt road is an adventure, and I live on an adventure, and it changes with the weather and the season. And it changes in that dawn light, and it brings life, and it brings nature, and there's something special about being on a road that leads away, not into busyness, but away from busyness. Magic. How amazing is it that we live in a world where some things can only be explained by the word magic. I love that with every fiber of my being. I love that there are things I cannot explain. I love that there are things that I have to label magic because there's no other way to describe it. And I don't ever want to lose the sense that this world is full of magic. Running. I love to run. And I am really grateful that I can. It's not easy. It's really hard, in fact. But it makes me a better version of myself, and it makes me want to keep becoming a better version of myself. It gets me outside every day. It pushes me every day. And I'm really grateful for that. Ink hitting paper. Oh my heart. The smell, the feel, the constant change as it spreads, as it dries, as it glistens, the feel of a pen moving across paper to put that ink in place. Oh, it just speaks to my soul. There's something about ink on paper that is transformative and reflective, and I will never tire of it. Grit. Grit is about courage, resolve, and strength of character. I feel like I have grit, and I feel like it is grit and grit alone that has helped me at many points through my life, and I'm really grateful that I have this strength inside of me. Intuition. Inner knowing. Being able to trust your gut. The more I do this, the better I realize I am at it. And the more I realize I can trust my gut. And it feels like it unravels something inside of me that gets bigger and better when I trust myself. Possibility. A bit like magic. I love to think of a universe that is filled with possibility. That lights me up to think that there are so many possibilities out there, I can't even think of them all. And lastly, comfortable silence. Because as I came to the end of my list of things I was grateful for, I found myself sitting in some comfortable silence with my family, just enjoying a moment. And I breathe a deep sigh of relief that I can end on something so simple but so beautiful. So what did this exercise teach me? Oh, so much. When I am present enough to really connect, I can feel gratitude in my chest. I feel light and I feel happy. And I still feel light and happy now, just reflecting on this project. And it makes me want to build this into a regular practice. I don't want this to be a one-off. This idea of making gratitude tangible and tactile is something I'm going to take forward with me. And I really love that this board of gratitude leaves now lives here in my office, where I can see it as I'm working every day. And that is just one more thing that I am really grateful for.